Hey everyone, guess what? We do not have ugly swag. We have spaced out radio gear that you're going to want to wear. Why? Because no one wants to wear ugly clothing. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com and go shopping today. You'll be glad you did. And it's a great way to support our show. Once you get your gear, send us a picture of you rocking out in your SOR swag. spacedoutradio.com. Shop there today. And make yourself look good.
Welcome to Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. Tonight's going to be a fantastic show. We have author, researcher, and host of Broadcast Team Alpha joining us tonight, Aage Nost, talking some consciousness and spirituality. We need it right now, and we're going to have a fantastic show. Hours 1 and 2, then we got Drew Banke with the After Hours wrap-up. Steve Stockton tells Untold Person Mysteries. UFO and weird news. Let's see who came out in first here tonight. We have, courtesy of Race Fan and looks like Kitty Catty Whack tonight, we got the gold going to Kitty Catty Whack. We have the silver going to Mothman, and the bronze going to Race Fan with the gold. Thanks for coming on in bright and early. We appreciate you. Also, Deb from Sacramento is out there. I see you out there. David Nornberg in the building. Thank you, sir, for coming on in. We appreciate you, sir. We really, really do. Roger Murray dropping knowledge. June 23rd, 2019, thousands of witnesses, 3 UFOs, Hamden, Connecticut. Roger Murray keeps us up to date. We do appreciate him on his contribution to the show. We also have Paul Shreves out there. Paul, thanks for coming on in. We got Mel WD40, of course, lubing us up, getting ready for the show. We got, let's see, who else is out here? Eternity Eternal, I see you out there. Hey, Flat Six. Where's Flat Six? Flat Six is right there. Thanks for coming on in, Flat Six. Appreciate you showing on up here as we get down the list. We might be able to get to the end here. Lars Jansen, please step to the front. Thanks for coming on in tonight. Who else do we have? Ethanol saying consciousness show tonight. It's about time. We need that. Super Crazy Movie Geek. We want retribution. Thanks for coming on in. We got Delilah. I got it right the third time. Delilah's in the building. Thanks for coming on in. Undead Jed. Hey, thanks for coming in. Terrence Wills. Appreciate you showing on up. Let's see. Kurt M in the building. Hey, Kurt M. Laura Dominguez, thanks for coming on in. Nina Williams, I see you. Bada bing, bada boom. Thanks for coming on in. Appreciate you showing on up. Damian Wyatt, I see you out there. And we are current. Nice. right on time for us to start the podcast side of this thing. Welcome to Space Down Radio, the After Hours radio show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. We're going to have a fantastic show tonight, uplifting show tonight with Aage Nost, author, researcher, all-around great guy, host of Broadcast Team Alpha on YouTube, Hours 1 and 2. Also, Drew Banky with the After Hours wrap-up, Steve Stockton tells Untold Missing Person Mysteries, and UFO and Weird News of the Week. Guys, let's go. Greetings, space travelers. Welcome home. You just tuned your dial to Spaced Out Radio, the only place where you can own the night. I am your host, Mr. Rob G. And tonight, we'll be broadcasting to you on our terrestrial affiliates across North America, plus digitally on digital platforms all around the world. Don't forget, you can access our archives absolutely free. YouTube.com/The Spaced Out Radio. While you're there, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Also, don't forget to follow us on X and Instagram at Spaced Out Radio, at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where the options are endless. You can stay up to date with the SOR Newswire. You can get yourself some official Spaced Out swag, plus you can rock out to the man you hear right there, Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and oh so much more. We're going to have a fantastic show today. We have author, researcher, host of Broadcast Team Alpha, Aage Nost. He has spent 25 years plus of experience in TV and radio and is an expert in the fields such as UFOs, strange science, paranormal, the real power of the mind, the universal consciousness, hidden agendas, conspiracies, and many other fields of paranormal research. Open up our mind at every level of existence and to all the things we are not supposed to know about. Quote from the man we're about to bring up on the stage right about now, because we're jumping right on into it, Mr. Aage Nost. Aage, thanks for joining us.
Hello. Here we are again.
Here we are again, in no better perfect time for this too. It's been a while. We haven't had a consciousness show here on this channel, on this show in specific, and it was right on time. So, Aage, let's talk about Broadcast Team Alpha. Let's talk about the spiritual science, higher consciousness. We need ascension right now, right? When you look around, would you agree?
Well, we are in some very tricky times, and whatever we do, whatever we think, whatever we allow to dwell in our minds the most right now could be very critical, because even quantum mechanics are telling us that we create our own reality on the basis of what we allow to dwell in our mind and what our perception of reality is. So for many of us, boy, oh boy, are we in trouble. But on the other hand, I am not worried at all about the future, because there's a saying, I don't know, I've been using it a while, maybe I made it up, and that is that the best way to predict the future is to create it.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we create it in our mind first, it seems to lower its vibration and settle into the physical with us if we also put a little effort behind it. Because the universal mind is everywhere. And we are the hands and the feet of the universal mind to get things done in the physical existence. So we got to do a little work.
We got work to do. That we definitely have work to do. And like I say, it doesn't come at a better time when we really need uplifting everyone around the world. And obviously, we have people watching and listening all around the world. So this is going to be that gift for them here tonight. So, when we talk about metaphysics and spirituality, what took you down this road? Let's start from back when did you get the idea that this is where you wanted to go?
Oh boy. I've been kind of weird all the way back to when I was that tall, you know. So I think it probably started for me around the age of about 10 or 11 or something like that, because I saw something in the sky that was not an airplane. It was quiet, there was just light, and it just moved across the sky. And I talked to a neighbor kid about it, and he says, "Oh, yeah, that's one of those UFOs." And I didn't know much about anything at that time, so he explained a little bit to me, and that sounded interesting. So I started looking into it, and I think I was about 11 or 12 or something like that. I had figured out that if it had no motors, no engine, no wings on it, it had to have something electromagnetic in order to fly. So I built a UFO detector, and it's so simple. I mean, anybody could do it, and it worked. I I hooked it up to a bell. There was a little circuit to it, and they clicked up the bell. So when something was flying through the air without engines or wings, it was using electrogravitics, I guess is the term for it. And then when it flies, it creates ripples in the Earth magnetic field. And those ripples, they would affect a compass needle. So I built the whole thing around the compass. But here's the compass needle, two wires going down on each side. If the ripples touch the compass needle, the needle would move and touch one of the wires. And then you close the circuit and the bell goes off, and I grab my binoculars, going outside and see where are they.
Wow.
And I really didn't know much, about 11 or 12 years old. So I found that I think there were 3 times that I know the bell went off. Twice I went outside and I saw something. And that something, that was, one of them was a long kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, but it was kind of a combination between a cigar and something a little more triangular. At least that the way the light looked, and the other one was round, and that's about all I remember from it. But I don't remember which direction they were going or anything like that. But that woke me up to that there's a lot of stuff that I need to find out about.
Yeah.
I think that's where I started reading and studying and get weird. At
Weird
least the
Weird
neighbor,
is the
yeah,
new normal, is what I realized. As growing up as a kid, you think weird is a bad thing, but weird actually turns out to be the normal. And probably we should realize that we're all weird if we're going to embrace what it is that's coming here, because it's definitely not what reality tells us is real. So that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Now, have you besides the UFO, right? So because I know you delve in, and last time we talked a lot strictly about consciousness, but I didn't get to ask you if you had any experience with anything outside of like UFOs, like cryptid, any paranormal, any of the other stuff that's under the phenomenon.
yeah, I have. There was uh, I don't remember what we actually talked about last time, but I may have mentioned this 7 foot tall guy that suddenly showed up. Did I mention him?
I don't recall that you did.
Okay, well then I'm gonna explain that, because that set me down a totally different path. I had sold the farm in Norway, and I left the country, go to the United States to go to flight school, and I came here in April, And at Christmas, I went back to Norway to, for Christmas. And I went to, there was a new guy that had bought the farm, and I walked into the forest. We had a huge forest next to the farm. So I walked into the forest and just kind of, I don't know, I was just kind of a little sentimental about it, I guess. But I left all this behind to follow my dream. And I walked in there, and there in the middle of that forest, there is a grave mound, a Viking grave mound. That was probably about, maybe not quite 20 feet, maybe 15 foot tall. And I walked up on that. There's a lot of brush around it, and I just crawled up there and I sat down to meditate. And everybody knew somewhere down in that grave mound there's a Viking laying there, and we all were wondering, who was it? And nobody knows anything. And I was sitting up there meditating, and then I heard it sound like it was something had turned a faucet because there was water running. And I remember thinking, water? That don't make sense. I opened my eyes up, and there was this man standing in front of me, probably about 6 foot away from me. And he was about 7 foot tall, and he had a robe on, a white robe with gold around the neck and on the cufflinks. And he was lit up like a light bulb.
Wow.
And it scared the living chocolate out of me. So I jumped up and I ran down from the mud and I headed out of there. And I wanted to get away from that as soon as I could. And then I heard this voice in my head saying, "Where are you going?" And I thought about that. If he wanted to get me, he probably would have done that by now. So I walked back up on the mound, and I remember sitting down again. But that became uncomfortable because I was sitting there looking up at him. So I raised up, and we stood there face to face. Up to that point, he had not said much. And I remember asking him, "What is your name?" And he said, "We don't use names. When we address someone, we create their image. That makes the contact, and we communicate mind to mind." I'm kind of paraphrasing here because the language in there was, this was 50 years ago.
Sure.
Before you were born. So, and I didn't really know what to say, but he proceeded to tell me some things I should consider doing. And a lot of that I have done. But some of it I haven't done. I have tried some of it and failed at it, but I have not done yet. So, and then I asked him some questions about what I was doing over in the United States. And he said, "It will be hard, but do never give up, because you will have some help. We will help you." And I think we spent about 20 minutes up there together. And it was mostly him talking, me listen deal. But I got a lot of insight of some of the things that I really should consider doing. One of the things that is kind of unique right now is that he told me, find a way to speak to the whole world. And guess what? We're doing that right now. So, and back then in 1970, the Christmas 1972, there were no way to speak to the whole world.
Right.
There were some really powerful radio stations. One that I listened to a lot was Radio Luxembourg. They had music, and that was transmitted from Luxembourg, and we heard it in Norway, about 15, about close to 2,000 miles away.
Oh,
So,
wow.
but still, there were no way to talk to the whole world, so that concept did not exist. But
True.
we found a way to do it. And I had some questions answered about what I was doing and how I was going to do it. And when I walked away from that, my head was spinning. I didn't have any clue how I should deal with this.
Yeah.
It's been so long ago, I've forgotten a lot of what he talked about also. But I write about it in this book that I wrote for. Oh, where is it? Yeah, it's somewhere here. Oh, hang on, just there we go. Yeah, it's this one. Huh, that didn't work too well. Spiritual science, higher conscious thinking, and how to access the universal consciousness.
Yes, sir.
In there, I talk about this incident, and I also talk about what other people can do in order to have experiences like this. In fact, I teach people how to use their mind in ways that you normally would think would be impossible. But it has been a really interesting ride since I came here. Being a pilot, I flew for a living. We had a flight school, international air taxi, and became an air carrier. And I was doing that for 23 years. And when you fly as much as I did, you see stuff that
Right.
shouldn't be there. And there was some really interesting experience there. But after I retired from flying, I started working more with hypnosis. And for somebody that really want to develop their mind, I think most higher consciousness come through meditation. And also, if you learn self-hypnosis, you will do yourself a phenomenal favor. And if you go to broadcastteamalpha.com, which is our website, in the go under classes, I have a course that you can take how to learn self-hypnosis or hypnosis for other people. And it is really simple. It's just that you got to know how, and you got to do a little practice.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a great tool to have there, and awesome that you went ahead and put that out there so everybody knows where to go get that. When we talk about consciousness, first of all, I always say this, but I feel like consciousness ties everything that we're experiencing together. The phenomena, it's everything, right? It's number one before aliens or any of the other things, right? You talk about 5D ascension, and we get caught up in using jargon a lot, or terms that really we understand within the community, but for someone outside, what is 5D ascension, if you could explain that?
Yeah, I would like to explain that. I could actually do that somewhat in detail the way I had it shown to me, because about 10 years ago I had a universal download where the universe was explained to me in concept and detail. But let me get back just a moment to my friend again, and the 7-foot tall guy. In fact, I forgot to tell you that when I asked him about his name, he said we don't use names, but he said also, if you absolutely need one, call me Lowell, Loul. So that's the name that I've been using. And he comes and visits ever so often. On my last visit here, it's a few weeks ago now, he told me there will be a split in the timeline, and you will choose which one you will be in. And for some people, that could be a warning, and for others, it will be an assurance. Because the people that have reached a certain level of consciousness vibration, they will go off on one timeline, and the other, I have a term for them, but I probably shouldn't because we're on YouTube. Uh, the other people that is not at that level of consciousness, they will go up another timeline.
Okay.
It is said it is coming because you as a species have created it, and we have helped you do it, and we welcome it, and we will be there to receive you and help you. So the remember, we live in a mind created universe also. Mind created, that means that whatever we allow to keep in our mind the most, that is what we're going to have in our life and in our surroundings, in our environment. Boy, that's scary for some people. But after a while, when you know these concepts, know the principle that when you raise your consciousness, you're going to become a better person, you become more knowledgeable, and you will be more and more hungry for spiritual knowledge. And the higher you get into the spiritual knowledge, the more you are interfacing with quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics is the language of the spiritual world in the physical existence. Because here we can read about what the universe is. It's gotten to the point now, we all thought that back, 14.3 billion years ago, we had the Big Bang. Now the equations on the blackboard show there were no Big Bang.
Yeah, exactly. Science moves the goalposts all the time, and I tell people that it's not. You shouldn't fully lean on science, but it's definitely great as a tool to kind of give us the best guess for the moment. But we're about to actually go to our first break of the night here, and I definitely want to get into some real feel good stuff because so many people are not feeling really good around the world right now, and we definitely need, as we are showing here on the screen, the consciousness shift before disclosure. Because as I talked to the guest last night, I did bring up the reality that we were already on a path where we needed to shift our consciousness, and then now it seems like the end that we hope doesn't happen looks more viable than ever. So we're going to get into some real good techniques maybe that we can use to get ourselves through this times right here on Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show. We'll be right back with Aage Nost. Get your mind right, get your spirit. Let's get our zen. Let's sit down, get your tea, and we'll be right back right after the break. All right, we are clear. And let's see. Yep, I think we did get to everybody this morning. Let me check to see if anyone else has come in after the fact. I think Caged on the inside. Prayer, meditate, same thing to me. Quiet yourself. And yes, we are all having the same human experience. Straight up, straight up. We got Georgia, Victoria Jean Hillstrom. Thanks for coming on in. Awesome. You're sharing this, Aage, deep interview information. So many need this information. We'll be sharing. We do appreciate you sharing there, Georgia. And you're right. It's definitely something that needs to be spread around, right? Because when you put good energy out there in the universe, it can multiply and it can create a tidal wave that then takes over the entire globe. So hopefully we're kind of helping do that tonight. So who else is coming on in? Yeah, you want to add something, Maggie?
Yeah, you have the consciousness shift and disclosure pretty close together, and I think there's going to be very little time between the two of them.
Right.
I think disclosure or whatever little they're going to give us might come first or second. I'm not sure, because it's going to probably happen about the same time. Because if the raising of consciousness has not happened by the time that so-called closure happened, it sure will have a big impact when that happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I'm going to need
and
you to repeat this too, Augie, when we come back from radio, from the break. I would definitely want to talk about this when we come back.
oh, we're not back yet.
Yeah. We're just on a 5-minute break right now. We got about 3 minutes, 20 seconds before we come back. Very important, though, that we touch that. So we'll start off with that.
I also want to mention what he told us about the future of mankind the last time that I visited with him.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I got you, Drew Banky. I got you.
There'll be two different types of people.
And let me see here. Oh, questions are coming in early. Nice. I like that. Super Crazy Movie Geek got it started. So you guys, just so you know, questions, just put them in all caps so it's easier for me to grab those, just like Super Crazy Movie Geek did. And we'll be asking those at the end of hour 2. And yeah, this is definitely this show comes right in time, Augie, because we haven't done a consciousness show on here for 4 or 5 months, and it's just now we're back to it. It's the perfect time for it. So I know you're the guy for the job. So I'll let you lead. I got some great questions for you, and yeah, we should be able to make it happen tonight. Archon Jackpot. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
This is fun. I'm enjoying myself.
Yes, sir. As do I.
I love doing these kinds of things.
Great, outstanding guest. Aage Nost is one deep cat. Exactly. Leechum, the spicy lizard. Hello, everyone. All is well. Can be.
Are we on for 1 hour or 2 hours or
2? Yep. So
2, okay.
Right, yeah, we'll be when we come back from break, it'll be like 20 minutes until the top of the hour, and then we'll have 1 more hour after that. Questions will come in the last 30 minutes, and yeah.
All right.
Fantastic. I know they're going to want to pick your brain here. And I needed this too. I mean, obviously I'm in the world with everyone else, and but everyone has even their own personal things going on in their personal lives aside from the big picture. So it's like this is going to be therapeutic on many levels for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all need it.
Yes. And if you do you recall what you were just talking about during the break? Because we'll pick up with that.
Okay.
All right. All right. We got about 45 seconds.
Okay.
All right, coming back here. 5 seconds, guys. Let's get ready. Here we go. All right, everybody. Welcome back. Spaced Out Radio, After Hours Radio Show. We're on the back half of the first hour right here with our guest, Aage Nost, author, researcher, host of Broadcast Team Alpha, consciousness guru, all that good stuff. We're going to make people feel good tonight. A lot of crazy things going on in the world. Remember, if you miss any of the conversation, jump in the archives. Absolutely free. YouTube.com/at Spaced Out Radio. Getting right back into with the conversation with Aage here. And Aage, so you were bringing some really good points up here during the break, and want to make sure that people Radioland heard this. Did you want to go ahead and talk about what you were speaking about there?
Yeah, we can do that. In the last visit with Lowell, I was able to ask him questions again and about the future. And there's a lot of people that are worried right now, especially what happened a couple of days ago in the Middle East. A lot of people are worried. But I would tell them, yes, there may be some hiccups from that. But once that has settled, there could be a couple of months that looks really scary. But beyond that, everything will be just fine and smooth sailing. Because he also said, you will have some help. And when I talked about, I asked about the raising of consciousness and the split in the timelines, and I suggested that I'm hoping that I would be in the timeline with good people, and the scuzz buckets of the world will be in the other one. And I can think of a few names that'll fit there. But and he said that there will be two kinds of people, even in the timeline that I have selected, a good one. There will be two kinds of people. One of them will be the pure human, and the others will be the ones that did that stupid thing, about 3 or 4 years ago, and they put something in their arm.
Totally understand. Yep.
They will be with you, but they will be the ones, the technicians. They will be more so doing the hands-on work that take a higher form of physical intelligence. And the pure humans, they will be the intellectuals, the teachers, the artists, and they will be more kind of playing their way through work and through life. And I'm good with that. I never took that thing, so I know where I'm going to be. And I also asked one thing. There is one thing that is on the horizon that a few people have found out about. There's supposed to be an asteroid coming our way that NASA, at one time they said, no, it's not going to be a collision of Earth. But then they changed their mind. They said, at the best, it will be coming between the moon and Earth going through. And it is of the size bigger than New York City. So when that thing comes through, there is private scientists that has done the calculations on the path, and they say it's going to hit. But I asked him about that, and he said, you should not worry. You will have some help.
Okay. That's good. That sounds good.
Yeah. So I am not worried about that at all because, let's face it, a thing that big coming about 30,000 miles an hour, that's the planet killer.
And so here it's funny that you brought that up, right? Because I tell people all the time, outside of ufology, the one of just the biggest fears I have is something coming falling out the sky. So that just to say that, but I've also done a show on, because recently they had the conversation about that city killer asteroid that may at some point hit the planet. And so I thought about it. I'm like, we're sitting here talking about that, something that could really shift or shake up this globe, and we have something that could be just as ground shaking, which is disclosure. And I was
Yeah.
sitting there wondering, I'm like, okay, will we get disclosure before this other thing that could shift the planet? And then the one thing leading up to disclosure is, once again, which we talked about earlier, the consciousness shift. And maybe the consciousness shift is what maybe gets us to disclosure and helps us avert some of the impending things that we could be facing as humanity. Now, is that the not worrying thing that you were referring to, or what was the not worrying piece?
I'm sure we're thinking of the same thing. Is that asteroid that's supposed to come by in 2029? And I'm even going to quit thinking about it because it's not going to affect us. And I don't want to give it any mental
Mm-hmm.
energy to get drawn this way. So,
Now,
uh,
but when you say you were told essentially you wouldn't need to be concerned, you wouldn't have to worry about that. So what did
yeah,
that mean? What did that mean?
uh, that's the one in 2029 that I asked about. And he said, you need not worry. You
Right.
will have some help.
Yes. So, and that's what I'm referring to. So what does that mean? You will have some help.
Well, I know their technology is hundreds of thousands or probably millions of years ahead of us, so they have a way to control spatial objects. In fact, there is a video that came out of Mexico about a month ago that I saw. There was a meteorite that came in. It was a big one. There was a really big meteorite come down over Mexico City. You may have seen this video. And it was straight, heading straight down. And then there was a light that came above it. And instead of going straight down, that meteorite flattened out the path and flew beyond the city before it went down.
Wow.
That video is actually on YouTube. That's where I saw it.
Are you
Maybe,
are you hinting potentially at like extraterrestrial intervention?
absolutely. That was a ship that came down above it and used something similar to what we have a familiar concept of the tractor beam. So that was probably some of that technology that stopped it from hitting the city.
Okay. So
And
okay, and I can see that, and I would hope that would happen. That's the thing that I really, in the back of my mind, have always just hoped that even with the either something like that or the current thing that we're dealing with in the world now, that hopefully that's what they'll do. They'll just step in and be like, okay, enough's enough. Let's go ahead and bring this back in, guys. And
yeah,
that's kind of what I'm hoping. But at the same time, we always talk about these beings will not step in until we have this shift in consciousness. That's kind of what they're waiting for before they interact with us. And then but at the same time, I'm hoping that even if we don't reach that shift in consciousness, they still have the ability to step in and kind of help us avert a disaster. So I don't know. What do you have to say to that?
yeah, the shift in consciousness is kind of an elusive thing because many of the people large numbers of people have already had that shift in consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the technocrats and the atheists and the the people that don't believe anything if you can't see it on TV. They're
Right.
lagging behind. But all they need is to see some form of evidence that maybe people like you and me got something here that they need to look at. That's what breaks that old mold, and they will come along also. Except for the fanatical religious people, they're going to have a hard time.
Right. Right.
Yeah, because either they're demons or they're jinns. So if it isn't in the so-called holy book, then it's Satan's work. So they good luck to them. They're going to need it.
Yeah, and I have actually Reverend Michael Carter coming in a few weeks, and we're actually going to be talking about that whole fact. The because I feel like one of the next cards to fall is going to be the whole religious community, and what do we do with that? Like that's going to be once we have the shift of consciousness, then it's going to be dealing with the religious community to kind of lead into disclosure. So that should be good. We'll talk about that in a couple weeks.
Oh, Michael Carter is good.
Yeah.
Tell him hello from me, will you? He is really.
I
He's
definitely
sharp.
will. They say you keep good company, right? So Aage knowing Michael Carter is no surprise for me. But I think at the end of the day, what would be if we just stop real quick and focus on what's going on right now without really having to talk about it. The world is on fire almost here, and there are a lot of people feeling different ways. We actually have a viewer that tunes into this show from one of the affected areas around the world, and it just blows me away that person chooses to step in and congregate with us with all of the other things that person could be dealing with right now, and we're all feeling it even though we're not there physically. How using some of the practices that you have perfected over time, what would be some of the suggestions, right, that you would give just as a blanket general thing for people around the world?
Okay, that's important. And like I said before, I think higher consciousness usually comes through meditation. And if you're a born again Christian and listen to this, yes, they talk about meditation in the Bible too. I know the preacher's telling no, don't do that. That's Satan's work. No, it isn't. In the Bible, they call it be still. They don't talk about you not moving your hands and your arms and moving around. No, your mind be still. That is a form of meditation, because that's when you go within, the cluttered thoughts go away, so the universe, God, or spiritual entities can communicate with you. That's what happened. And when you get those in meditation, you can get revelations, you get bright flashes of insights about things to do. I hear that all the time, and that's what you will get. And especially people in business, scientists, they need to do this, because that's where you get the brilliant ideas. And like Albert Einstein said one time, he says, when I have a problem, he says, I try to solve a problem. I can think all day and I get no answers. And then I sit down and think about nothing, and the answer comes. There's something to that.
And so meditation being the number one thing, I can agree with that. Because you kind of release, it kind of allows you to release in a good way, which I guess would leave you open it on to allow new ideas to come in, right?
Yep.
consciously. But then at the same time, for someone that may be dealing with some sort of trauma, right, like what's going on in the world today, that meditation does the same thing, allows you to kind of release, because I think one of the problems is, and for me, and I don't know if it's the same way for everybody out there, but I realized like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I sat and I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I'm addicted to YouTube. I'm addicted to YouTube. It took me back because I'm like, okay, I don't watch regular TV. I watch basically all YouTube. And then the problem with that is that you have so much of what's going on in the world being shown there. And it's like you can't get away from it. So that meditation being step one is super key. And even for myself, because I have to consciously say, okay, let me not see anything that's going on in the world. Let me step away from the world, disconnect, and then kind of meditate. And then I end up feeling okay. Right. So what would be step two then? How do you proceed?
Well, meditation is one of them, which I highly recommend. And then there's this thing, it's called know what you want. You sit down, try to slow down the mind, and then decide on some of the things that you want more than anything else in your life. Try to see it in color. Visualize it. Feel it. Intend for it to happen. And love it. Now you create this ball of energy around that concept of what you really want to have happening in your life. And tell yourself, it is emerging in my life right now. Now, once, just like Greg Braden says, the feeling is the prayer. It's the feeling, the emotion and the feeling of knowing what you want. That is what goes into the quantum existence and start pulling it back into the physical with you. So know what you want. Feel it, see it, and visualize colorful images of it and intend for it to happen and say it's emerging right now. And then you take that ball of energy and place it in the future, let's say at a Christmas party or a birthday party next year or something like that. And you visualize yourself standing around with friends, toasting to the success of what you accomplished and what you have.
Okay.
That means it is done. You got it.
It sounds like manifestation, right? Is that?
You got it.
Yeah. So let's talk about this then. Manifestation, I think, is a real thing. I've seen people that, and this person knows exactly who I'm talking about, but that can kind of set a goal or a sight on something and then achieve it as well, because they put it in the ether, right? And then they were able to then attain it or achieve it. So I've seen it happen in real life. So I know that is a thing. But another part of this, though, we get into like the and what I think is more of what people need right now is the spiritual healing part of this. So and I think a lot of people are like really starving for advice on like now, like they want this information now because they don't know how to deal with, a lot of the things that are happening right now. So if you could tell people how to spiritually heal, I think that would really be a good thing. We have about 4 minutes before we go to the top of the hour.
Okay. First of all, we know that the mind can heal. Science has proven that. There's no question. So I tell you what, let me break up the answer, because I will tell you one half of it, because that is what we do in the mastermind session that we have on Sundays. To give you an example, there was one of the members, this is about a year ago now. His wife was in the hospital with COVID, and she was going down the tube really fast. The next day, they were going to put her on the ventilator and give her, that medication that shut down the breathing and basically kill you. So now we wrapped our mastermind around her, and we visualized her walking out of the hospital, perfectly healthy. And when we were done, I kind of jokingly, flippantly said, "Oh yeah, she'll be home tomorrow." I never even thought it would happen. The next day, in the late afternoon, her husband called me and he said, "My wife is home." And the most brilliant answer that I could give him was, "Huh?" That was it. I couldn't, for just a few seconds, that was hard to believe. But our mastermind healed her, because a mastermind is when your two or more minds are united in harmony. They create a third mind that has the potential mind power of the two or more of them multiplied by each other. That becomes powerful. And that is what we do on Sundays.
Okay. Well, we know that, part of this whole disclosure process, just leaving that on, like, if we didn't already have bigger fish to fry in this world, the disclosure process itself is going to be stressful, ontological shock, and just the whole mental side of this. So we know we're going to have to deal with that on a large scale, as far as being able to have some sort of like outlet for people to get this stuff out, right, to kind of process what we're dealing with, and then also spit it out, and kind of leave room for good energy to kind of replace the nasty, icky kind of feeling that you have when you're going through stuff like that, right? And
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what everyone is looking for right now, and it's just bigger. It's even bigger than disclosure right now, as far as the need for this. And then, as I talked about earlier, like, because of the things that are going on, it kind of expedites the clock on the how much time we have. And one thing I know is probably not even connected, but I know Ross Coulthard mentioned on the 2027, whatever's supposed to happen then, that he felt like we were on borrowed time. And that borrowed time thing is kind of what I'm looking at right now, because it feels like even more than ever, we need something to happen. And it has to start with the shift in consciousness so we can prepare ourselves to do whatever it is we have to do. So we have about 30 seconds here, Augie, if you want to go ahead and add to that, and then we'll take a break.
Yeah, and remember also, you will become like the people you associate with. So surround yourself with good people. Spend time with people that lift you up. Spend time with people that you learn spiritual things from. And find a group of people. I would invite you to come and join the mastermind group with us, and I'll give you the coordinates to do that later. But it is up to us to seek it out. And when we do, it will come to us. Like when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Yeah. That's a good place to leave it right there, as we get ready to go to the break at the top of the hour. Shifting consciousness before disclosure. It's important. We need to do it. We'll talk to Augie after the break about how. See you guys right after this.
Conversations that move the needle.
Conversations that move the needle.
You're listening to After Hours with Mr. Rob G on the only place where you can own the night. Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Radio.
You've tuned your dial to the right frequency.
Well, this is fun.
This is fun, Augie, and we're off camera for 5 minutes, so I'll see you after the break.
Okay, I'm going to go and get something to drink.
All right, welcome back, Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours Radio Show, After Hour number 2. And Augie, can you check the private chat real quick? I just sent you something there.
What's that?
The private chat. I sent you a message real quick here.
Oh.
So let me.
Through a brief meditation exercise after the break, they want us to do a brief.
Hold on 1 second, Augie. Okay, it crashed anyways. All right, so don't worry about it. Yeah. So yesterday I was asking if we could do that. Are you open to doing that?
Well, if you like to, the only thing I can say about that is that if you are listening to this as a recording in your car and you're driving,
okay.
Or
if we're gonna do that, let's wait because we're about to come back from break right now. And then if you would, that would just be pretty cool. If you just go through kind of the steps, maybe. I think it's very important. I think the audience would appreciate that. But here we go, coming back from break right now.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours Radio Show. After Hour number 2, we're back with our guest, Aage Nost, who is an author, researcher, all-around good guy, talking consciousness, because we need it. We need some positivity in the world right now. And we're going to talk about maybe some things you could do, some steps you could take before we jump into other topics here. And we'll have Drew Banky coming in to talk about all this with the wrap-up Hour 3 as we get back into the conversation here. So, Augie, I was just kind of thinking, and I sent you a message during the break, just, I think for people here and just for people who would maybe see this on replay, it would be kind of awesome if you wouldn't mind taking us through like maybe just a brief meditation, 30 seconds, just kind of take us there. We need to close our eyes. What do we need to do? And then kind of tell us what we should do during this meditation time.
Yeah, meditation can be so many things. You get actually into a meditative state every time you sit down and watch a movie on TV. Your brainwave pattern comes down and everything comes off the screen and goes directly into the subconscious mind, and you are affected by things that you probably should not allow yourself to. And there's a way to avoid that also. But meditation is a simple way to push all unwanted thoughts and clutter in your mind out. And
Okay.
there you can think about absolutely nothing. And that's not easy.
All right. So I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to close my eyes.
Yeah.
Silence.
Close your eyes
Mhm.
and just think about your feet for a moment. Feel them heavy against where they're resting. Then think about your fingers and your hands and your arms. Feel that they're resting heavy against where they are. Feel yourself sinking into the chair. And then allow the mind to drift off into nothing. Just nothing. Allow your mind to be still. And then you can give it direction if you like. Tell yourself, opportunities are coming my way. I am open to all new opportunities for my highest good.
Yeah, I like that. And then just come back and shake it off. Just shake it off.
Yeah.
I like
Now
that.
you have given the subconscious mind an order.
Yeah.
The subconscious mind will dwell on that. Opportunities. It will if it doesn't have opportunities on its own, it will hand the order off to the superconscious mind, which is basically a connection device between the subconscious mind and the universal mind. Now, the superconscious mind reaches out into the universal mind and find opportunities that would be for your highest good. Latch onto it, understand the concept, and bring the concept back to you and transfer it up through the subconscious mind up into conscious understanding. And there we go again. In this book, I teach how to do all these things and make it simple.
Yeah, it's very important for people to know how to do that. But I mean, just as you said, I think it was just cool to actually show an exercise like we just went through. And obviously, you can rewind and kind of retake a look at that, and then maybe add your own words to it. But it's essentially just that mellowing out, right? Is what you're needing to do that relaxation part of it. So pretty much you can say whatever you want to say during that time, whatever calms you down. But I just think it's for people who may not even think, life moves so fast that you never take a moment to do something like that, right? And maybe it's just cool 5 minutes a day to kind of just stop whatever you're doing and kind of do that, and maybe it's something that helps out.
Yeah.
So I wanted to put that on record for people who may want to try that. But when we talk about what consciousness is, because we throw consciousness, the word, around within the community, and here's what I thought about doing. I was like, okay, when I'm looking at the things we talk about within the community, there's a lot of words that mean something, but you have to go through certain things before you understand what they are. Because I know consciousness, when I came into the community, consciousness could mean different things, right? But to the community, it's the source. It's like our actual being, right? And a lot of people don't understand that when they come into this. So for you, how would you describe what consciousness is, or what is consciousness to you?
There is, at the top of the food chain, there is a universal consciousness which knows everything that has ever been thought about or created or wanted. It has the knowledge of all things. And then that universal consciousness have offshoots to it that goes to individual people, like, or groups of people, or people like you and me. We have a little spark of that life consciousness in us. So we are using that, and that little spark of consciousness is connected to the universal consciousness. So we are actually always plugged in. We don't know it, because we are told that everything there is in the brain. No, it's been proven that consciousness is not in the brain, it's not in the body, it is non-local. Quantum mechanics show us that. So consciousness is everywhere, where everything is connected, and the word God comes into the understanding of the universal mind. It could be perceived to be the same thing, because the word God, first of all, was given a meaning it was never meant to have. It comes back from the Anunnaki or the Sumerian language. The word God means great leader. So when somebody say, well, God spoke to me, well, okay, the great leader spoke to you. Who's the leader? But the source of all things is that the universal consciousness, which some people call God. If they understand it as the same thing, then I'm good with the word God too. Whatever people use. I don't know if that made any sense.
No, it definitely did. It definitely did. So when you think about as we try to shift our consciousness, Hopefully, and like I say, it's just it gets so you get so I don't know what the word is. You feel like this isn't going to happen, like we're not going to be successful in the path that we're on right now, because it just, as I said earlier, things are going on in your ordinary regular everyday life, and then you get something thrown on top of you. It kind of crushes you, and it kind of takes away your optimism for a positive outcome for the future of humanity. How do you think these extraterrestrials, and this is one thing that I was wondering, is do you think that they are sitting back right now just ready to kind of break the glass and jump in, like, hey, we need to jump in right now, like, guys, this is going bad, we need to jump in right now and help them shift their consciousness?
I think we are being monitored very closely. They probably understand what is going on much better than we do, because they also are very telepathic. They know what is going on in the minds of the so-called leaders or the influential people that make problems or make good things in the world. So they have the finger on the pulse a lot more than we do. And I think that if it get to the point, and this is one thing that Lao told me, we will not allow this world to be destroyed. There were a time in the past where they were let it go, but not anymore. Too many people have woken up and raised their consciousness to a level which qualify us for the raising of consciousness in the new timeline, and we're going to be all right. There will be some help, and we may need it.
Okay, so moving from the consciousness part of this into the more material part of this, right? I know you've talked about in the past, uh, you talked about a treaty with the aliens, right? I know you had done a show about that. What did you mean by that? Are you talking about the Eisenhower incident? And let's just start there.
Yeah, that was more like they came here to. Well, he met with two different ones, and one of them was the good guys, and the others, that's the one they ended up with, which was not the good guys. And of course, the American government, they had to get in bed with the bad guys. That's what they usually do. So I would say, for they're sitting back, and Eisenhower, he was visited first by what I believe was Pleiadians. They came here and said, you're going down the wrong track. You got to get rid of the nuclear weapons so you could blow yourself up. And we will help you to create a phenomenal society where you will have no more disease, there will be no poverty, everybody will be taken care of, and it will be a benevolent society. But you have to give up your nuclear weapons. And of course, he couldn't do that. In his mind, that would make sense, because the Russians had nuclear weapons. If he gave up America's nuclear weapons, we would have no defense. So I can understand his thinking. What he was not told was also that the Russians were also approached about the same time and said, you gotta let go of the nuclear weapons, because this we can help you with. And they turned him down too.
And so let me ask you this, because that's definitely the going thought behind that meeting, that it would have been in relation to us having to give up nukes, which makes total sense, right? And we see them, these orbs located by these nuclear facilities all the time. So it would appear then they're still keeping their eye on it. Now, the thing I've always wondered about that, and it kind of ties us into what we're actually going through today in these current days, is that did they give an ultimatum? So they said, yes, we will help you if you get rid of the nuclear weapons, potentially in this meeting, if it did happen. They're asking us to get rid of nuclear weapons. Did they give a timeline on it, or was it like, yeah, we need you to do that now, or hey, 80 years, so we'll give you 80 years, you guys get rid of these nukes and we'll revisit this at a later time?
That I have not read anything about the timeline on that. I think there was something. My opinion is that we had to make a decision fairly quickly, but I don't know that.
Because
So,
the reason why I asked that is because if there was some sort of conversation, that actually took place, and then maybe if there was some sort of timeline or ultimatum, then maybe we blew past that timeline, and now we are in, a situation where we're about to actually potentially use weapons current day. What kind of makes what would their thought process be then at that moment if they came originally, had this meeting, said, hey, get rid of your nukes, and then we get to a point to where we're about to actually use nukes? How are they looking at that? And what do you think they would do? Like, they've already asked us to get rid of them.
Personally, I think they would interfere and not, even if there were a device or two that went off. I don't think there will be no World War III. I was told that. That is off the table. And you remember up in North Dakota when that big red disc was hovering right over a nuclear silo, and it neutralized the radioactive material in the tip of that rocket, as well as it shut. First, the electronics of the launch code was activated and then shut down.
Yes.
So they demonstrated that we are in control. We can shut down your silos anytime we want to. So I think they did that to show us that we are in control. We're not going to let you screw up the planet.
My whole thing, and I just wonder, like, wouldn't they shut them down permanently? Wouldn't they just disable these things? Why would they leave it? Well, I guess maybe that's part of the growth process. They leave it in our hands as far as part of the growth process. I guess I could see that, but like, why even play that game? But I guess it that's probably required. If you've elevated your consciousness, then you've come to a point to where you understand why you shouldn't be doing that, and then you make the conscious decision to get rid of them on your own. Is that kind of what it is? Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Probably so. Because the concept of free will is at the front end of everything.
Yeah.
Now, they can give us some choices and help us to make that free will work for us. That's okay.
Yeah.
They can give us some ideas that we didn't have, and then we make that choice. That's okay too. Or if there is something that put the planet at risk, I think they would interfere. That's what it sounded like to me. So that's why I'm not worried about the future.
Okay, let me ask you this. I'm not a date guy, and as far as saying something's going to happen by this date, but they, as you know, I'm sure they've thrown out this date recently of 2027, 2034, a couple different dates. How do you feel about dates? What do you think they're alluding to when they mention those dates?
Well, first of all, the future is fluid. So there is no date stamp on anything. I saw things in the download a long time ago that has not happened. And I don't believe it will, because I changed my consciousness to totally exclude those things.
Okay.
So it's not in my timeline anymore. It might be in another timeline where it's going on. I know there is one timeline where Hillary Clinton won the presidency in 2016. That
Okay.
timeline went through World War III.
I
I
like
know.
the timeline aspect. I brought that up to myself, right? And so, in a moment where some sort of event, impactful event would take place, you would then be shifted at that moment to another timeline. So maybe you were about to fall off a cliff, you shift timelines, you never fell off the cliff. But in your original timeline, you're no longer with us. You've met your fate, right? So that
Yeah,
sort of, I feel like that could be a thing, because I feel like, when I look back and I think about all the crazy stuff that I've done as a kid, and there's moments where it's like, okay, you shouldn't have got out of that, but you're still here, but you shouldn't have got out of that either. So in those moments, did you shift timelines where those things actually did happen to you, but you actually
yeah,
shifted into another timeline? So I understand the concept. It's actually pretty awesome, and it makes a lot of sense, because I think when people talk about luck, I think luck could be described as that, maybe shifting timelines so that,
yeah.
yeah, okay, exactly. All right, good. That means we're on the right page here.
Absolutely. And that's why I say I make my own luck.
Well, we got to get some. We gotta. I want to get some hope out there. Like, what do you hope happens? Right, knowing where we're at, knowing where everyone is at consciously right now. What do you hope happens? Let's just do a short term goal by the end of the year. What do you hope happens consciously for humanity as a whole?
Well, I think there'll be a tremendous increase of learning. And by the end of the year, the communists, the Democrats of the country, they will have totally lost their power. There will be nothing left to speak of. This country is a republic. I've had a reward out there for well over 25 years. I'll give anybody $1,000 if they can find me anywhere in the Constitution of the United States of America where the word democracy is mentioned. It's not there. This is a republic. That's a stable government. Democracy has never been a stable government, and it will come back to being ran as a republic again. Democracy is when people that willy-nilly, whatever they feel like, they create new laws to oppress the people. In a republic, the laws are constant. It's very difficult to change laws. So there's some resolve. This country is going in a good direction. Right now, we got a little hiccup of just something a couple of days ago happened here, but we're going to get over that. There's going to be a lot of upset people. They're going to be all pissed off, especially in the Middle East and places. So expect that to happen. And then, like what I saw, there could be a couple of months, 2-3 months, where there's a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty. But we're going to get through that. And I think we need to prepare for it. Prepare both mentally, spiritually, and physically. That means store water, store food, and get to know your neighbor, and be ready for anything. But we're going to get through it, and things will be okay.
I really hope that you are right on that, Aage, because it is we're so against the wall right now that something's got to give, and I'm just hoping it's for the better. We'll find out, right? We only have time. So with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and take our final break right here on Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours Radio Show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. We'll be back right after the break with your questions for Aage Nost. Don't you guys go anywhere.
right.
All right, we are clear.
Uh,
Clear. We got about 5 minutes, so if you need to do anything, you can definitely do it. We're still on camera, but if you need some water or anything like that, okay, you got it. Good, good. Me too. I got my coffee over here, but I hate drinking on camera. It's just a thing. I just can't do it. So if you ever, and that's for everybody out there. If you ever see me shut my camera off, I'm taking a drink of something real quick, just so you guys.
okay.
Does he
You
ever?
said
Thing?
we got questions in the half hour?
Yeah, we'll have some questions. We have a few that were sent in, so we'll be asking some of those right
Okay.
here coming up.
All right.
And yeah, it's just, when you have nobody aside from doing shows like this, where you don't really get in your just normal life, you don't really have people in there that are able to give you this sort of advice or kind of help walk you through the moment. And some people aren't trained to do so, or just are dealing with things themselves. So how can they help you? They're trying to help themselves, sort of thing. So that's what I always hope they can walk away from with this show, is how they can process things. And I think one thing, the meditation thing would be something cool that they can hang on to. And then just positive words like you just gave right there. And, because a lot of uncertainty right now. And it's just, we hope things go great. And usually they do. And I think putting great energy out there might actually make that a thing and allow us to do that. But the timeline thing is very interesting. And if we had the ability to control, if we can shift that timeline, then yeah, everything is okay, right? At the end of the day. So I can understand when you say that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we went through how to basically create the future by visualizing it into existence. And I think I'll refer back to that so they can remember it again. But also there are some mind techniques also that I could mention a little bit of, because when you get scared or you get nervous about something, it can occupy your whole thought process. You got to get rid of that fear in order for the thought process to clear. Fear is such a negative and powerful energy that it blocks everything else.
Yeah.
So we can talk about that, but I think, like you said, give them hope. Hope is not a plan, but sometimes hope, that's where it starts.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Right. And Shelly Montgomery, thanks for coming on in, saying Rob G with the wavy hand emoji. Appreciate you showing on up. We got Ange out there. We got Zenzabil in the building as well. We had a few late people come in. Amanda's Crazy Life channel. What's going on? Yep, birthdays are coming up. Shout out to the cancers out there. This is cancer season. Actually, we're actually officially in it. I think starting today. I think so. Yeah, all the cancers out there. Let's have a fantastic July. Let's see who else is out there. Hypersonic, thanks for coming in. Who else? Roger Murray, I got your question there. Let's see. Billy Herb, Woo Riders DG. Let's see. Georgia Victoria Jean Hillstrom has a great idea. Hey everyone, get Augie's book, Life Changing. That's what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm talking about. And
Yep.
I know someone was asking about your contact information. Where can they find you at? We have about a minute left.
Okay, we'll let him know.
Okay. All right. And let's see who else is Fast Hemi. Did I say hi? Hi, Fast Hemi. Appreciate you coming on in. Let's see.
I guess he drives a truck, huh?
I would think so. I'm hoping that he has a Hemi because his name is Fast Hemi. So, let's see. Let's see. Seymour Glass. You have a question for the guest? Please put them in caps, and I'll get it and ask coming up here. Fast. Do you have a Hemi? Amanda's Crazy Life channel wants to know. Oh yeah, okay. Fast Hemi says, yep. 06 Charger RT. Yep. I think that's when they first came with the Hemis, right? It was right around 06, somewhere in there. Chryslers, Dodge, have those Hemis. I would take a 07 300C, I think it is, with the Hemi all day long. Here we go, coming back in 3 seconds. All right, everybody. Welcome back to Space Out Radio After Hours Radio Show, after hour number 2. We're on the back half of the hour. This is question time. We got your questions marked. We're going to be bringing them up. We're going to be asking them. Make sure that you hit the like button on today's video. And if you miss any of the conversation, jump in the archives, absolutely free, youtube.com/@SpacedOutRadio. As we get ready to jump back in with Aage Nost here. So, Aage, yeah, we have a few questions. I want to go ahead and get to some of those, and then we can jump back in to some other things. But I know Super Crazy Movie Geek came out and said, what happens to us after death? Do we remain conscious forever? Do we ever stop being conscious? If you have any opinion on that.
Yes, we will always be conscious. Consciousness never dies. There's some science behind that. Remember, energy cannot go away and disappear. It only changes form. Even Newton did that 300 years ago. So when we create something on our mind, it also goes through the neural network. Electricity is created in the form and expression of thoughts. That's energy. It will never go away. It will always remain. The energy of it, after you drop the body, the energy of everything that you have done, seen, heard, or experienced in your life, that is that memory capsule that moves on as an integral part of the soul essence. It never goes away, and you, after you drop the body, you will, plain and simple, in a roundabout way, sooner or later, you're going to end up going home. Some people, they find themselves in darkness for a while, and some people get stuck in the astral world next to us, because especially people that have no spiritual knowledge, atheists, the astral world is full of atheists because they don't know where to go and what to do. But if you have little spiritual knowledge, you know there is something else out there that is wonderful, and that's where I want to go. And then you can draw into that. But also there is a saying that no one dies alone. And that is generally true, but it can happen. Accidents and stuff happen, so that you could have been done away with, so to speak, about maybe a day earlier or something like that. So the receiving party was not there, and you can get lost. But remember, there is a home. That's where we need to go. And oh, this is good. There is a spiritual telephone. If you find yourself and you suspect that you're dead, some people don't even know they're dead, but if you suspect that I probably got killed in this car accident because it's all burned up to crisp, so I'm gone, okay. There's a spiritual telephone, and that works in such a way that think of someone that you love very dearly, or someone that you know have a great affinity for you. Try to visualize them in front of you. You can do that in spirit form. Visualize them in front of you, and Speak to them in your mind directly. Say to them, come and get me. Remember, outside of the physical, everything is telepathic. So that person just might get the call and they will come and get you.
Whoa, that's heavy right there. But I will keep that in my database just in case I feel that way. For sure. Now, Gray Owl can't. Well, I'll save that one. Gray Owl is hilarious. Super crazy movie geek, actually. So we'll go to Mike Jones real quick. Mike Jones is asking, could you please elaborate on the two types of humans you mentioned regarding the bug in the arm?
Oh, well, two types of human that we all look the same. We won't change any of that, but one of them will have nanobots. They have there's a term for it. I'm not so sure we can say on YouTube, but they got it in that thing you got in the arm, and it's in the body everywhere. It is a self-replicating protein that, as long as you got one in the body, you get up at 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 128, and then you will end up with billions of them. And they're all through the body, and they work as a self-assembling computer chip. And they can control that person through microwave radiation, because they feed impulses that represents I'm not so sure we should go down this road maybe, but they can control you with giving you thoughts and emotions through that energy. The pure humans, forget it. They have no control over us as long as we know our worth and we stay true to ourselves.
All right. And we have let's see, Roger Murray. Yeah, I guess we can ask that one next. Roger Murray's asking, Augie, are we on the edge of World War III, in your opinion?
Yeah, on the edge, but it's never going to happen.
We're going to shift that timeline, right? And go to the one where it didn't happen. I like that.
It will not be allowed.
Yeah.
They will not allow it.
So great news for you, Roger Murray. We're going to be okay. We hope they step in and whoa, it's just being at that moment where we might find out. Like if it's serious, then and they are going to step in, then it's probably going to be something that could potentially happen very, very, very soon, even tomorrow or the next day, if they are actually going to step in. So think about that for a moment. Wow, wait a minute. Okay, if the world is doing what it's doing, and if it actually goes to that level that we hope it doesn't, then that might force that whole encounter or contact, which could happen within days. Wow. Okay, mind blowing. Let me get to the next question here. Super crazy movie geek is asking, are cryptids like Bigfoot real? And if so, do they have anything to do with the UFO? And will they be a part of UFO disclosure?
Cryptoids.
Yep.
I don't know exactly about cryptoids. I know that a lot of times it has happened that whenever there's Bigfoot sightings, you also have UFO sightings in the area. So the cryptoids, there are so many different forms of species out there. They got people looking like us, only about 3 foot tall. And then we have 7 or 10 foot tall looking like us. And we have In fact, there's several statues that's been created by a humanoid with a crocodile head on it. Yes, they're out there too.
Wow.
And there are so many different ones that, and they're all travel in ships. Some of them are interdimensionals, which there are accounts that have seen Bigfoot was walking away and suddenly disappeared on the path where he was walking. So there's a suspicion of some of them being interdimensional also.
Yeah, I had a really cool, interesting, and it's kind of out there, but it was still a different angle on Sasquatch. I heard a guy talking about, and I always bring it up because it's like I've never heard anyone else say this, but the whole fact that you see UFOs, and usually when you see Bigfoot or you see orbs, that's a lot of times people will say that. This one guy was talking about how his theory is that when you see a Sasquatch in the forest, that the Sasquatch is with the extraterrestrial and essentially is being like a almost like a protector or a bouncer, right, at the club. So they won't let you any further because the aliens are back there doing some business or something along those lines, that they were directly connected in that way. And I was like, you know what? I never thought of that. You do hear often UFOs at the same time as Sasquatch. And if there was going to be some sort of connection, it would make sense that they were together. I mean, look at George Lucas in Star Wars, right? We had Chewbacca on board with human beings going from planet to planet. So maybe it's what is that? Life imitating art? Maybe it's life imitating art in that instance. I don't know, but it's fun to think about. So
you never know.
You never know.
Everything is possible.
You never know. And when you were saying self-replicating earlier, Zenzabil did chime in and wanted to know if you were talking about self-replicating protein.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then Gray Owl just kind of wanted to know, does Augie agree that the most outstanding species of the unknown visiting alien species are smoking hot alien space babes?
Oh, okay. Well, hey, like I said, everything is possible. And I think according to some of the pictures that have surfaced all the way back to Billy Meyer, Asket was a pretty good looking lady. So yeah, I'm all for that one.
I heard that too. And now the crocodile alligator head one aliens, I hope they aren't the ones that step in and save the day, because I wouldn't want to be confronted by anything like that.
Yeah.
But some of the ones that have to be human, and this will have to be another show that'll talk about this, but I was thinking about the Palladians, right? And then the ones that are supposed to look like us. Okay, then you turn around and then you look at other things that are living here that are close to in relation to human beings, and we think like primates, right? And when you look at all the different type of primates that are out there, and then even like Arctopithecus, all the extinct stuff, it makes me think, were they trying different versions? Like, did they try, like, are the primates like one of the failed versions of what the extraterrestrials were attempting to make what we are currently today? I don't know if that's coming out right, but it sounds like, if you look at it, it's almost like, okay, version 1, version 2. Okay. And then you get all the way up to like chimpanzees, who are really, really smart and probably the closest thing to human beings when you look at how they interact with each other. And it's like, did they try previous times with these primates? And then now we have us as the end result, the perfect result, I guess, or not really perfect, but
the perfect imperfection. Absolutely. Yeah. I think you're onto something, because if you read the Sumerian tablets, you will find out that there were quite a few different versions that became us, because the first ones failed. Some of them ended up with no eyes. They had one arm, and there were all kinds of goofy things. And the first one was not Adama, it was Lulu. And Lulu had no way to reproduce. So they had to change that because Lulu and his people, they were unhappy. I can understand why. So then they created someone with reproductive capability that became, they called it Adama, and Shava was his companion. If you read the Sumerian tablets, so that's there is a progression. It took several thousand years to do this, according to the tablets.
Yeah, it's just when you look at it, it's like, okay, the chimpanzees are they're almost human, like they just lack this ability to do whatever it is we do when we create. And it's like they're almost that. Okay, well, let's scratch that and let's go to the next one. It just seems like when you look at it, different versions of what they tried to do in building human beings, because you have to wonder that we survived alongside of them, and they are almost intelligent as human beings, and maybe more intelligent in some cases, truthfully. And it just something that you have to think about.
Yeah, and I asked a scientist a question one time, and he mentioned that we may have come from apes. Well, if we developed from apes, why do we still have apes?
Right.
So that theory doesn't fly. We were seeded.
That's exactly
some of us were seeded, and some of them were created by the Anunnaki. So there are parallel developments of mankind.
That's what it sounds like. And that's why I'm like, okay, it goes back to the whole how, what you said with Sumerians or just the old ancient civilizations, where it's believed that we were kind of hybrids of Anunnaki, and here we are as human beings. But then, we live right alongside of primates, and they're still here today. So it doesn't make sense that we were them and they were us. So could they be another version of not necessarily a mistake, but just not quite what they were looking for, right? And so here we are as human beings. I don't know. With that being said, let me see. I think we have, is there any more questions here? We have, I think that, oh no, we do have one thing. Drew Banky was on your show recently. He's an Hour 3 guy. What he wanted us to ask you about the interview that you guys conducted.
With that, the one on the screen about the hot alien space babes. That's the last one.
No. It's this one. He just sent me a message saying, hey, ask Aage about my interview on his show.
Robbie G, ask Aage about my interview on his show.
Yep. So I guess you had Drew Banky on your show recently.
Yeah.
So he's asking to ask you about.
It was so much fun. I'll tell you, you got a sharp partner over there.
Yeah, definitely. That's why we can't have anybody but Drew Banky for the Hour 3, because I think we form a pretty good team, and why I think we are going to have one of the biggest, highest rated shows right here on the After Hours Radio Show. So we all love Drew Banky and his service to the country, and the things that he does. I always tell him he's a selfless guy, helping out soldiers with PTSD, allowing them to come stay at his place, and all that great stuff that he does. And just, I always tell him, continue to be that person and put that kind of energy out there, because we need more of that out there. We need more people like that, right? And whenever you have someone like that, you definitely want to make sure you give them their flowers, right? So that's what
he has some incredible experiences too, and I'd like to have him back on the show here in maybe another month or two.
You hear that, Drew? Open up your schedule, buddy. He is asking, answer the space babes too, please. So I guess they wanted you. They don't feel like you addressed if these are going to be hot alien space babes that come in and save the day.
Okay, fast Hemi. If you want to have a look for yourself, this is how you want to do it. Go out somewhere in the dark of night Look up into the sky. Visualize a ship and visualize yourself rising up towards it. Remember, they are telepathic. They will see your thoughts. So when you see yourself going up to the ship, then stop on the outside of it and ask, can I enter? Whatever comes to mind, do it. You may get in there and see what's in there. That stuff works.
All right.
You may do it 4 or 5 times, but when they see that, he is persistent, maybe let him come. And then they will come and they have their way to bring you on board so you can have a look.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go. That's how you see if these space babes truly exist. And, you know, it would be a pleasant surprise. I'm not going to say it wouldn't be if space babes popped up. I wouldn't be upset at the least. However, what I would like to do here is we get ready to get to the shutting down of the interview here tonight. Just want to see, like, you know, what, if anything, has excited you about any of the news? Like last time we talked, so many things have happened. We had the drones in New Jersey. We had Jake Barber step out as a whistleblower that was potentially transporting crash UFOs to the contractors. And other things, we had the Corbell video came out with the UFO in the clouds, crazy looking like Nope. Any opinion on any of that stuff? And how do you feel about just the UFO scene? What do you hope to see going through the end of the year?
What I'm more excited about actually is something Lau told me, and that was, it will not be long before your friends from space will walk among you. So they will be, it's not going to be long. And I'm going to hold him to that one because I am ready. And I think most people, especially people listening to shows like this, we are ready.
And we are definitely ready. I agree. Go ahead.
Yeah, because also the first ones, this is something that I've said several times. There's this government program run by the CIA and NASA, Operation Bluebeam. That's the fake alien invasion. If they ever have the guts to do that, then you will wake up one day with the sky full of ships. That's the plan. There's a CIA document it was on the CIA website. You can find it somewhere under the reading room. And if you get your hands on it, read it. They explain how they're going to do it. But I don't think they're going to get to do that anymore because there's so much information out that I don't think it's going to work. But if it happens, the second wave of UFOs, those are the good guys that will come and clean up the first ones. Because the first ones most of them are holograms anyway.
Well, here's what I'll say, Aage. For surely what we definitely know and we can all feel around the world, whether or not you're in on this topic or not, it something has to give, and we've kind of been forced into a time clock that has now been sped up. So our options are slim, and whatever is going to happen is going to have to happen soon, and I think it will. With that being said, Aage, I do appreciate you coming on out for the show tonight. Always awesome stuff. We'll have to go ahead and book another date for a couple months out. Make sure you go get Auge's book here. It is called Spiritual Science, Higher Consciousness Thinking, and How to Access the Universal Consciousness. Make sure you go out and get that, Aage. Thanks for coming in.
Conversations that move the needle.
Take care.
Listening to After Hours with Mr. Rob G on the only place where you can own the night. Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Radio.
You've tuned your dial to the right frequency.
All right, we are clear. Hypersonic says you're not ready, nor will you ever be. No, we're ready. Humanity is ready, and I got to tell you this: we really don't have a choice. Ready or not, here they come. With that being said, we'll go ahead and take a break. See you guys in about 5. All right, everybody. Welcome back. Space Out Radio, the After Hours radio show. After hour number 3, the final hour, fantastic hour coming up right here. We're coming back right now. All right, everybody. Welcome back. Space Out Radio, After Hours radio show, after hour number 3. We want to go ahead and thank our guest, Aage Nost, coming in. Awesome hour 1 and 2. If you missed that conversation, hop in the archive. This hour, we have Steve Stockton Tells Untold Person Mysteries. We have Drew Banky with the After Hours wrap up. And we have some UFO and weird news. Maybe we'll get to that action-packed hour. Make sure you don't go anywhere right here. Space Out Radio, After Hours radio show. And we're going to go ahead and jump right on into it. We didn't get to do it last night, but we will tonight. Steve Stockton Tells Untold Person Mysteries. Once again, just glad that he's a part of the show. And here we go.
Welcome to Tales Untold and Missing Persons Mysteries on Spaced Out Radio's After Hours. My name is Steve Stockton, and I'm here to take you on a journey of mysteries, legends, and true stories. Come, join me on this strange adventure of Tales Untold and Missing Person Mysteries. First up, we have the Roberts family. John Roberts and his wife Julie Englehart, both 49, and their 11-year-old daughter Brooke Roberts went missing on April 6, from Hesperia, California, in the United States. The family had lived in Hesperia, but in 2017 had moved to John's hometown of Ozark, Alabama, and then back to Hesperia again in 2019. The trio were staying in a Motel 6 while the parents looked for work and a more permanent residence. Julie had a phone conversation with an unnamed relative on the 6th of October 2019, where she stated she'd found a job cleaning used trailers for an unknown business in the Hesperia area. She also told the relative that the family was in the process of moving to Spring Valley Lake. She was excited about the new job and the move and seemed to be in good spirits. Nothing struck the relative as odd or wrong about the call, and after a brief conversation, they hung up and went about their respective lives. Only this would be the very last time anyone has heard from any member of the family. Julie was supposed to call the relative the next day, but the call never came. There's no further information about this case and no news since that last phone call. The family's whereabouts are still unknown to this day. Detectives are seeking contact from anyone who may have information on the whereabouts of John, Julie, or Brooke, and are asked to contact Detective Jason Schroeder at the Hesperia Sheriff Station on 760-947-1500. Next, we have the disappearance of Alan and Terry Westerfield. On September 12, 1964, brothers Alan and Terry Westerfield vanished without a trace. Alan was just 6 years old and Terry was 11. On this day, their stepfather, Carl Bach, dropped the boys off in front of the Broadway Theater on Hay Street in downtown Fayetteville, North Carolina. The boys were planning on seeing a double feature, but when Carl came to pick them up at the agreed-upon time, the boys were nowhere in sight. It was just about dusk, and alarmingly, there was no sign of the young boys. Earlier in the day, the boys' mother, Margaret, had left them in the care of their regular babysitter, a woman named Barbara Temple, so she could go to work. When she returned home, she found that Miss Temple had been dismissed by the boy's stepfather, Carl Bach, whom she was separated from at the time. Carl explained he had dropped the boys off to see the double feature at the movie theater. Upon hearing this, the pair began to argue, which led to Margaret storming out of the house and heading to nearby Fort Bragg to drink at the NCO club. When she returned home, it was 1 o'clock in the morning, and her children still weren't home. Margaret then confronted Carl, and he explained to her how he'd gone to the theater at approximately 7:45 p.m. to pick the boys up and bring them home, but could find no trace of them. He said he had waited there at the theater until about 9:30 before considering they may have walked home or that their mom had picked them up instead. Immediately upon hearing this, Margaret called the police and reported her sons as missing. There were many discrepancies found in Carl Bach's story, including his own girlfriend at the time who worked at the theater, telling investigators she did not remember seeing the two boys at the theater that night. At around 3:30 in the afternoon, one of Terry's friends had come over and asked if he could come out and play, to which Carl informed the child that Terry was being punished and could not come outside at the moment. Also, Miss Temple, the babysitter who Carl sent away, claims she insisted that she stay with the boys until their mother Margaret returned, but Carl insisted even more that she leave and said he would care for the boys until their mother returned. Eventually, Barbara Temple gave up the argument and left as she was told. Margaret, Carl, and at least a dozen other people were brought in for questioning, but nothing ever came of any of it. In the year 2000, when the case was being looked at again, it's been reported that Carl Bach was brought in and was at first incredibly nervous. However, when he was told he wasn't being charged with anything, he suddenly became arrogant and uncooperative with the authorities. So what happened to these two boys? While many believe the stepfather was involved somehow in their disappearance and that he was somehow looking for a way to get his revenge on their mother, Margaret, for ending their relationship, and while no evidence points toward anything he said about dropping them off at the theater that night or picking them up could be confirmed, the fact remains that these two little boys were never found. No trace of them, and no evidence showing one way or another what possible fate could have befallen them. To this day, no one has ever been charged with anything, and police are apparently no closer to solving this, North Carolina's oldest missing person case. Now we have the Salomon family. On October 13, 1982, Stacy Pearman, one of the neighbors of the Salomon family, called the police when she noticed the family's pool was overflowing in their backyard. She and her mother went and knocked on the door first, but when nobody answered, they became concerned. When the police walked into the home that day, they were not expecting what they found. There was no one inside the residence, but everything seemed perfectly normal. A bit too normal, actually. Even the bed in the master bedroom was made up beautifully, and there seemed to be nothing out of place. This was, of course, upon first glance. As the investigators looked a little deeper, they found 14-year-old Michelle Salmon's bedroom in absolute disarray. Her bed frame was broken, the bedding was missing, and there were some spots of what looked like blood on her mattress. Elaine Solomon, her husband Saul, and their 14-year-old daughter Michelle and 9-year-old son Mitchell were all missing. Upon interviewing friends and other family members of the Solomons, investigators found out that Elaine Solomon never even made her bed to begin with, so the fact that it was made so perfectly that day, at the time of the disappearance, was deeply disturbing, according to cousin and best friend Doreen Laffer. After a brief but thorough investigation, nothing was found that alluded to where the family could have gone, and they were never found. After suffering nightmares for years, Stacy Pearman decided to investigate the mystery on her own. She found a man named Harvey Rader, a man who had attended a car auction with Saul the night of he and his family's disappearance. This man's story was said to be riddled with inconsistencies and full of what she called flat-out lies. Harvey was also linked to 3 other missing person cases. At the end of the day, however, no arrests have ever been made, and the facts in this case are few and far between. Theories aren't hard to come by, but it remains to this day that the Solomon family disappeared, seemingly without a trace, into thin air that night, so long ago, in October of 1982. A whole family, a mother, father, daughter, and son, just poof and gone. How does this even happen? We'll let you be the judge. Next up, we have Simon Cadwell, Chantal McDougall, and their daughter, Leela. In July of 2007, Simon Cadwell, his wife Chantal, and their daughter all vanished without a trace from their southwestern Australian home in Nannup, Perth. The family were renting a home, and a man named Antonio Popic lived on the property in a caravan. Chantal's father, Jim McDougall, reported his daughter and her family missing in October, when he was told there had been no sign of them, and nothing but a note that said "Gone to Brazil" stuck to the front door of the rental home. He stated, "After a few weeks, I was a bit suspicious we didn't hear, so I actually contacted overseas where they were supposed to be, and there was no record. So I got really worried and contacted missing persons." Antonio Popic had also gone missing. In November of that same year, a month after Simon and his family were reported as missing, Mr. Popic's brother reported him as missing as well. Investigators found that none of the 4 missing persons' passports had been used, nor had their bank accounts or credit cards. Nothing to indicate they were on a simple vacation, as the note left on their front door had alluded to. Acting Sergeant Fiona Capron said they had settled their lease, and it seems they left in quite a hurry, but left no sign where they could have gone. None of the four had ever used their cell phones again either. It's a huge mystery as to where any of them could have possibly ended up or why. Sergeant Caplorn stated, as far as we know, a couple of days before they went missing, they sold the car that Chantel owned. They left their property in their house at Nannup, and they haven't been seen since. Simon Cadwell is said to have been a very charismatic cult leader, and therefore the search for the family and their friend had led to investigations into whether or not they had run off to join some kind of religious sect. Though many reports have come in leading the police to think that this may very well be the case, no conclusive evidence has ever come to light making it a fact. The police have also issued a national missing persons alert and have continued working on the case and following up with any and all leads, regardless of how trivial, that still come in to this day. So what happened to this entire family and their lodger? How could four people just vanish into thin air? This case also has so much rumor and speculation surrounding it. At the end of the day, when basing opinions solely on fact and evidence, there is almost nothing to go by, and their whereabouts remain unknown. Now, while
All right, that's Steve Stockton tells Untold Missing Person Mysteries. As you can tell, camera issue right here, but we're going to work with this until we get to break. We'll go ahead right now and bring in the man with the plan, none other than our guy, Drew Banky, with the After Hours wrap up. Let's go.
You're an irredeemable monster!
Come here, I'm going to eat you. Get in my belly.
Get down in the north! Get down in the north! Going! Oh, he's gone north! You're a monster!
Drew Banky with the After Hours wrap up right here on Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show. Drew, welcome to the show, man. And I know you know Augie. What do you think about the conversation today?
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. It was my bread and butter, everything I talk about, man. So that's why me and Augie get along so good. And whenever we talk, it goes by way too fast. And yeah, everything he's talking about, I feel the same thing. I think we're manifesting it. Just like I'm manifesting, I'm taking over this show. Like your picture's off. I'm finally manifested and taking over the After Hours show.
Yeah, Drew Banky is taking over the After Hours radio show here tonight. And if you could tell the feeling, the mood that was over the show tonight, it was really trying to find a way to help people out there that might be feeling some kind of way right now, man, based on just the energy, right? You can feel the energy, you can feel everyone else's energy. It's hard to explain, right? But you can feel that everyone's in a weird spot right now, right?
Sure. I mean, there's a lot of realizations when the news hit yesterday evening. There's like a lot of stuff you got to think about. And I think I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, you know, we've heard from several different people that's had encounters and downloads, things like that, that there will not be a World War III, there will not be a nuclear war. There be, uh, you know, people stepping in, help stepping in, you know, whatever you want to call it. But we keep hearing over and over again from different people. And I mean, we're literally right there. Like, so like you said, this could happen while we're on the air right now. This could happen tomorrow, or it could happen within the next week or two. You know, who knows? But it's you know, it feels like everything has sped up a lot. I'm definitely feeling that. But I agree with Augie. You know, this is time to go into prayer, go into faith. And, you know, what better time to test your faith than the time of really needing it? So I think there's a lot of things that's going to come about that's going to force us to progress faster. And I think this is, you know, where we're at right now. I think we're moving forward pretty fast.
Yeah, and it's so, the crazy and scariest part about it is just that even without this, even before this became an issue or a thing, it already felt like our backs were against the wall, as far as we were still on a crazy path. It wasn't looking good. It just wasn't happening as quickly as it is now. So it's like, you know, we kind of already understand that we need a shift in consciousness, which is the real reason why we were attempting to have this conversation today, because, you know, there are just a lot of people feeling really anxious and really don't know, you know, what may come of it. Some, like, you've been on the battlefield before, so you kind of know how to look at this and kind of what to expect. But some people are just scared out of their mind. They just hear the word war and they don't know what to do, right? And they're looking to other people and hey, maybe I need to talk to this group of people. And that's why I just wanted to provide a place tonight where you could maybe just get some tips on how to exercise that, kind of calm down, not be so anxious. I know there's a couple ways you could do it. You could do it with the devil's lettuce, but you could also do it with you know, ayahuasca potentially, or some of the methods that you teach. And maybe you could speak to some of that and some things that people can do to kind of calm down in this time, and because that's all we can do.
Yeah, and I think Augie put it good. You know, just don't give it. It's feeding off our mental energy. You know, our manifestation energy that we're putting out. So where you're putting your energy at, you know, put it into your family, put it into, you know, self-sustaining or food storage, or whatever's going to make you comfortable in these times, the most comfortable that you can in these times. And I think that's just looks like taking care of, being self-reliant. I think this time right now, I think it's going to push us more into being self-reliant and not being so reliant on grocery stores. You know, they talk about grocery stores shut down, supply chains shut down. You have 2 weeks of, you know, most Americans have less than 2 weeks of food. You know, they go grocery shopping multiple times in a month.
Yep.
And it's a little shift in mindset, you know. And I agree with, I like I said, I keep agreeing with the guest, but you know, I think the turbulent times are going to be short-lived, but I think it's going to make us have realizations. And I think those you know, in all experiences, you know, whether they're the hardest ones always come out to be the most profound lessons, you know, in the end. As we're going through them, they're really hard. So, you know, look at this as a lesson, look at this as experience, and, you know, just have faith in humanity, faith in your neighbors. I don't think it's going to be all doom and gloom and everybody out for themselves. I think something happens where, you know, the food stops flowing. I think we're going to share with our neighbors for the most part. And I think it's going to bring us together closer as a family, you know, as a collective family.
Yeah. And I just find myself, I surround myself with people who care about other people, and I think people who care about other people are the ones that are like most affected, right? Because when you see someone else going through something, you feel for that person, right? You kind of take on that feeling that they're having, and when you look around, you see a bunch of people feeling like that, then it's like miserable. You just want to figure out what you can do to kind of help the situation. So, I just hope some of the words that we've had tonight are maybe some that can go towards helping. It'd be cool to know if you could leave in the comments how you felt about it. That would actually be pretty interactive and pretty cool for you to do. But the whole timeline thing, right? Hargy was talking about. I love that because I've talked about that, and I always wondered, you're in situations where you almost like you had this crazy incident happen where you could be not walking away from that, but you do, right? Just like we'll give for instance, the guy who just survived the plane crash in India, right? 241 souls were lost, and prayers go out to their families. But at the same time, this one gentleman walked away. Did he jump a timeline? It's just what you would have to think, because how do you walk away from that, for one? And then for two, maybe in the previous timeline, he was one of the ones that didn't make it as well. It's just, you have to think about that, especially when we talk about part of the phenomena being dimensional and being able to step in and out of a dimension. Now, if that's possible, then the whole
Sure.
timeline situation is potentially possible. What do you think about
Sure.
that?
I think about it a lot. What do I think about it? I couldn't bring it all together in a thought right now, but one thing that comes to mind, the first thing that comes to mind when I heard about the one passenger that survived. We talk all the time how art mirrors life. Lots of times that we'll see stuff in movies and then it'll happen, or vice versa, things like that. There was a show, I think it was The Chosen or something like that, where this guy literally was just like that. He was this plane crash, and he was the only survivor, walked away, and he turned out being this like Messiah type thing. It was like this the series that got cut off, but it was a few years ago that I watched it, and then see this happen in real life. It's I think it's all a sign. Like, these are, if there was no one to walk away from that crash, it'd be one thing, but to have one person walk away from it, this it was a sacrifice for those lives, yes, and prayers to those family and the grief and everything everything else that's going on with all those families. But that whole that whole scene, I think, opened up some people, that saw it. I think more than actually what I'm saying. Just by reading the story and processing what it would be like, and I think that's where empathy comes in, because if you start to process like what it would be like to walk away from a plane crash where everybody else dies, like everything that person has to deal with, he has to deal with a lot of survival's guilt, PTSD, and all this other stuff. Also, he's got everybody look at him like, there's something supernatural happening with him, which there very well may be. But I think that whole, just that one thing, there's so many crazy things happening that really force us to open our eyes, and that's it's every day. We're waking up in the morning and trying to figure out what's the next crazy news story we're going to see.
Yeah, and you know what? I would love to be able to master that technique on, if you can control, if you can step into another timeline, because what I would like to do is to go to the store tonight, go and purchase a Powerball ticket, and if I don't win, I'd like to step into the reality where I do win, and then everything is beautiful, right? So maybe that can be a thing, and we'll try to see if we can do that. But we're going to go ahead and take our final break of the night right here. Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show. While I step off camera and fix the camera, I'll be right back with you guys right after the break. All right, Drew, I'm going to step off, try to fix this real quick. I'll see you in a minute.
All right, bro.
All right, we are back in the building. Crisis averted. Back live on screen. Loving it. Okay, yeah. So, yeah.
It
Just
felt weird being there alone, man.
I know,
It felt
man.
weird
It
being
felt
on screen
weird.
alone.
It felt, but look, they got it so they can tell now what the radio experience is like. Just like the same thing as watching the show. Just close your eyes and listen, and that you'll get the full radio experience. But yeah, just walking away from that crash, man, was crazy, dude. I couldn't believe there was one survivor. That just is like, how? First of all, you saw what it looked like, and you saw how in the world every other person, and then you were the only, like, man, what is that there? You know, you got to ask yourself, what is that there? What happened there?
It's crazy. It's exactly the storyline of that show. It's exactly the storyline of that show. So yeah, that guy's got a multitude of different things to deal with, you know, the PTSD, like I said, survivor's guilt, like you know, he's gonna have that. Like that's there, you know, that's gonna be there. But also, like, you know, why he was in seat 11A, I think. And the same seat as the same thing happened years ago. I heard a story. The same thing happened years ago. Plane crashed. Only survivors in 11A. So everything is like blatant. You know, if I was on the other side and I was trying to get the attention of us, you know, humans, I'd be doing some stuff like this. Like I feel like it's to get our attention, you know, in a way.
As Woo Riders DG says, you're going to mention the same commercial airplane had several issues more than one time, and they still chose to fly. that's why truthfully, even before this, I'm not flying. If I can help it, I'm not flying at all. I know this gentleman hopefully will never fly again, not take another chance. But you got to ask yourself, there's things that happen up there. Extraterrestrials have been known to shut off electricity on planes. I don't know if it happened here, but here we go. Coming back. All right, everybody, welcome back. Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show, after hour number 3. Back half of the hour, back here with the guy sitting next to me, Drew Banky. After Hours wrap up. We've been having a great time tonight, uplifting things being said, especially with things going on in the world. If you missed any of the conversation, jump in the archives, absolutely free. YouTube.com/Spaced Out Radio. As we get ready to jump back into the conversation, then we'll get into some UFO and weird news in a moment here. But yeah, Drew, just once again, essentially, the whole thing, we haven't done a consciousness show in months and months and months now. We were doing them back to back at one point, and it's just like it seemed like the right time to do one because it globally it feels like that energy level needs to be raised. And I know people look at it and they say, "Oh man, I hate when people talk about consciousness and frequencies and energy level," but it really applies right now to the moment. And if you're going to connect to people out there, through consciousness is probably the best way to do it, right? Since we're kind of technically all interconnected in that way. I guess if you put that positive energy out there, like I told Augie earlier, I'm a believer that multiplies as it spreads out to this huge wave that kind of takes over the globe, and hopefully we can get that momentum built up. But how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think he was explaining some of the ideas of quantum mechanics and how it works, and how like when two people share the same thought or same intention, it gets magnified. And I've spoke about that before in ceremonies, like the Sundance ceremony. I asked one time when I pass out in this Sundance, what is the power of the Sundance? And it's the collective intention that everybody has, the same heartbeat, and it's magnified by each individual person, because we're each particles of God. We're each particles of the source energy. We're connected to that. So when we have a lot of manifestation energy, obviously in a singular form, but like when it's magnified by two or more, it just keeps getting magnified. That's why it's important for you and your partner to be on the same page when you're trying to really build a business, build a family, build a house, whatever it is. Like, it's important for you and your partner to be on the same page, because you can see it manifest faster and more beautifully when you both are on the same page. But so that goes, transfer that out to, friends, distant family, friends, whatever, and people that when we start to hold the same ideas of what we want to look for in our timeline. I totally agree. I think we kind of choose the timeline. So, there's free will that governs. I've talked about it many times, that free will is one of the major laws that govern existence here in this physical form and in the energetic form. But so when we agree upon that thing, that's a very powerful thing. So, I think we passed the hurdle of anything bad happening. That's why I always talk about, like, it's all positive from my viewpoint. And you start to see the same sentiment come from people that are really diving deep into the consciousness field.
Yeah, I mean, you hate to give it a name, a label, really, and I think that's part of the thing too. But as natural as consciousness is, as natural as a living person, right? It's no special thing. It's no fringe thing. It's no thing. You already experience it every day, whether you know it or not. And it's you. It's what makes you. And once you come to realize that, then you kind of understand. And then you have experiences like we talked about before, like when a person walks in the room, you can kind of feel it, the energy, and how it just shows you that all those things interconnect. And that you can affect, like if someone comes in a really good mood, that energy kind of transfers to everybody else. Everybody else like, wow, okay, yeah, upbeat, right? You guys have someone that walks in gloomy, depressed or whatnot, that energy feeds off as well. And it's just like, it just shows you the power that we have just by doing something like putting positive energy out there, how it could be really effective, especially in a time like this, when the evil energy of the dark, lower frequency, whatever you want to call this stuff that's trying to come in right now, it's coming in strong. But I think everyone has enough want to not see it go down the path that it's going to go, that I think we could kind of overcome that just frequency wise. And maybe that'll be the thing that resolves this whole thing, right? In the end, we would never know,
Sure.
right? Because it's supposedly things are being done for X, Y, and Z, but love might conquer, right? And they say it sounds corny, right? It does, but it's a true statement, though, right?
I believe it will. To speak on seeing people, like there's an experience I had in Florida one time. I was asked to speak at like one of the local psychedelic groups in Florida, and one of my horses just hit the wall downstairs and scared me. But I'm sitting on top of the barn. But anyways, I was asked to speak at one of these psychedelic group gatherings, and I went there, and it was hosted by this guy that had just started a ketamine clinic. Him and his wife started a ketamine clinic, and he was sitting like across the group. There's like 20 people in a circle, and I'm just sitting here like vibrating a lot. I'm hearing a lot of ringing in my ears. It's going from one ear to the like left to right, going back and forth, and ringing different in like the sides of my head. And I'm like looking around, I'm like, man, what is trying to be told to me like right now? Something's trying to be like signaling me that's in the room, like one of these persons in the room. So I'm like looking around the room, and the sun's setting like behind this guy, like he's sitting by a window, and I see the sun like setting behind him, and it's like setting right behind him, and his head's like glowing. And we get done talking. It's like 15 minutes later, we step outside, and I look outside, and the sun's setting all the way at the other end of the building, the opposite end of the building than when he was setting. So I was like, I went over to talk to him. I was like, Charles, I was like, has anyone ever seen like your aura? He's like, it's funny you say that, man. He's like, there's been a lot of people seeing my aura. I don't know if it has to do with like me doing this ketamine clinic or whatever, but he started the whole thing as like come from a dream. And I was like, I've never seen someone's aura before, but I thought the sun was setting behind you. That's how bright his aura was. Like,
Wow.
like golden orange. And it looked like the sun setting behind him. And I thought that until I saw the sun setting at the other end of the room, but at the other end of the building. But that's the first and only time I've ever really known that I've seen someone's aura. I'm sure I have, and really not, realized it. But yeah, that dude has a powerful aura. But is there anybody in the chat? Leave a comment if you've ever seen someone's aura. That's a cool thing to see and experience. But yeah, I think we're in the midst of some magical times. I've said it months before that I feel it coming, but I feel like right now we're in it, man. I think we're not waiting on it anymore. I think we're living it right now.
Well, I'll tell you what, just like I said earlier, because of the time clock being sped up, we were already on short time, and I keep going back to now Ross Kothar, which I don't think is connected, but it could be because he really didn't elaborate on a lot of stuff. But the whole borrowed time thing, and it just, now that this clock has been sped up, it really feels like borrowed time. And it's just like, we know something has to give in this moment. It's just something has to give. I don't know what that's going to be, but something has to give, and it has to give now, whether that's extraterrestrial stepping out saying, hey, okay, we're here, don't hit the button, or if I don't know, it's just hard to say, because there are some people, a lot of people feel like they will step in. There's definitely some people that feel like they're just going to sit back and watch because they've watched other things happen. So it's just, I hope the first one happens. I can't, I'm going to prepare for the worst, because I think everyone should do that. We definitely hope that things get resolved in a good way. And I guess the only thing we can do on this level to control it is just go out there every day, try to exercise all the bad juju off of you, and just take positive energy out into the world. That's really all we can do as individuals to try to turn this thing around. Like, otherwise, we don't have any control over our destiny, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I think Augie articulated very well tonight that we really need to look at and pay attention to where our mindset is, because we need to understand how powerful we are in manifesting things. I said over and over again so many times on this channel and others that we are the manifestation power. Like, we are really in control, like more than we understand at this time. Hopefully through our life in this, I think we're coming up on this point where a lot of us will understand this a lot more deeply, but we manifest our own destiny. Like, we really do. And, you know, that's, I think he's spot on. That's why I love it. Anytime that I see his name pop up, you know, I'm listening to it. So
it's going to be one of those real deal conversations. And you know, we have other friends in the community that we'll be bringing in that also we need in this moment. Like our friend Dev Shakti, we got to have a Dev Shakti sighting here because we need that. What she brings energy wise as well. And you know, we're just gonna we really, these shows we really need to be doing more than not right now until we can at least get through this this thing, man. And like I said, it's just not knowing. You hope you know what the result is going to be, but not knowing is the thing that kind of bugs you, and you're kind of sitting on the edge of your seat. And you know, that's why using the meditation and tools like that, you know, whether it's the devil's lettuce or whatever you might need to kind of get into that meditative state, I would just recommend doing that as we work our way through this, and just hope for the best, and we'll see what happens. Really, pray, right?
yeah.
If you're into that, pray for sure. And yeah,
pray, meditate, you know, just or love, you know, just love, be in gratitude. Really, that's really what a prayer is anyways. It's just like, it's an advanced form of gratitude. But you know, gratitude is the attitude. And you know, just remind yourself in all that, like, there's a lot of people out there that has worse circumstances than you. You know, people going without food, water, you know, shelter. If you got all three of those things, be in gratitude, you know, and that's going to only build. And what you was talking about, the lotto numbers and stuff like that, Augie was started to touch on like how you would accomplish something like that. And it's literally like put together a celebration, celebrate you getting the lottery numbers and all that. And then, you know, if you really believe in that celebration, the universe has to catch up and make that happen. Like, it has to correct that. It has to correct that hiccup of the money not coming yet, and it'll come together. Like, it's people wrote books on it and things like that. It's just a matter of how convinced you can, how much you can convince yourself in the moment, really.
and that's just hope that you know, everybody has that hope that they could magically make that happen. But at the end of the day, when disclosure hits, right, as we shift our consciousness to prepare for disclosure, once we get into disclosure, money isn't going to mean anything anyway after that, or it's not going to be the value or the prospect wouldn't even be there afterwards. So it's just really a thing to say. I think I really would like just to see disclosure happen. Really is what I want. It's really what I want, and I want it now. You know, I want it now. So it's like, this way we can shift into this new mindset, or wherever we're going to go from here. Let's just get it over with. Let's just do it. Right. So extraterrestrials, if you're out there, which I know you are, if you are watching this show, which I don't know that you do, but if you're tuned into this frequency right now, show yourselves. We need disclosure right now, worse than ever. And we would appreciate if you kind of just show up in the sky, man, and stay there long enough so we could film it and distribute the video worldwide, so we could kind of have this moment and get past it. Right. Let's just do this. Let's have the moment. Let's get past it. And then let's figure out where we go next.
in the first live interview on Spaced Out Radio After Hours of ET.
And I might, Woo Riders Jesus says you might not like what is revealed, Rob GC. I know, but hey, guess what? I think it's better to kind of get it and get it over with, right? You know, you're going to the doctor, you know, you're gonna have to get all these shots, and you know they hurt. You don't like needles, but you just got to go get it over with, or you got to get your tooth pulled at the dentist, and you know it's gonna potentially hurt, but you know you'll be better after that. So you have to go. Okay, let's go do it. Go sit down, get that tooth pulled, and then step out and be that new person afterwards. That's just when I'm ready for the metamorphosis of humanity. I want to see it because this is the moment. I think we have enough minds that are thinking about consciousness and on the right path as far as that goes, that I have faith that we have enough people to kind of shape the direction that we go in going forward. So I trust this group of people that are here with us experiencing right now to kind of make that decision for humanity. And let's just get it over with, man. Let's just do it. Let's get it over with.
No, I totally agree, man. It's time for sure. But you got to understand, like, what's happening in the world right now. If like ratings for shows, like most of us like action, things like that. You know, we like excitement, and if we're watching a program like a movie or anything like that, we want excitement. We want something to catch our attention. The PBS and the just giving out information on the old public broadcasting stations, they don't have ratings. So if we transfer that to what's happening in the collective and in the world, like it's going to be exciting for us. We wrote this story collectively, so it's going to be exciting, and there's going to be twists and turns, and there's going to be surprises, just like if we were watching a movie. What would we choose? We would switch from PBS to some exciting story or show, and it's no different. So everything is a reflection, and we need to see how we react, and it's no surprise of what's being manifested in the world right now, because that's just how we are as a collective. We love excitement. We love surprises. We love mystery. This is the greatest story that's ever told. Like, and we're living in it. So enjoy it.
That's right. That's right. And we are going to go ahead and jump into the news real quick. So you may as well stick around, Drew Banky, and let's just go ahead and jump right on into the UFO weird news of the week right about now.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
All right, UFO and weird news of the week. Had a pretty weird story here. Man stayed overnight on world's creepiest island with 160,000 corpses where people are banned. YouTuber doesn't believe in ghosts, but if any night was going to convince him, it was this one. A man who stayed overnight with a friend on the world's creepiest island got freaked out by his experiences there. There are many parts of the world which have an eerie aura than others, and they often carry the weight of history behind them. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, there are certain locales where awful things have happened that seem to carry it in the air, whether that be because spirits are real or because of several other factors about the place which stain your perception. Among the favorites of paranormal investigators is a small island off the coast of Italy called Poveglia, which through history has been home to a significant amount of death and misery. One of the visitors to this island ended up staying overnight and did not really enjoy his time, sharing what he'd found in a video. It's located between Venice and Lido, so if you're in the northeastern part of Italy, you're around the right area. Given the fact that it's an island, you'll need to find a way crossing the water to reach it, and you'll not want to be too obvious about it since you might be stopped by the authorities. It's a rather nice part of the world to be located in, provided you can get over the place's overgrown nature and the reputation it has for being one of the planet's most haunted areas. In the late 18th century, the island became a place to put people the Italian mainland didn't want, with Paveglia first being used as a point of quarantine for plague victims, and then in the 20th century, it became a mental hospital. It has been abandoned ever since the hospital closed down in the 1960s, leaving behind a deserted piece of land with derelict buildings and a reputation for being a part of the world where many people died. According to National Geographic, around 100,000 plague victims died on the island. So if you believe in the supernatural, then Paveglia must be absolutely teeming with spirits of the miserable. Those who died in the hospital or more ancient bones of those who used to call the island home before it was abandoned the first time mean that it's not a happy place at all. Having been abandoned for almost 6 decades now, the island's nature has started to consume the buildings, and without regular maintenance, the structures are considered unsafe. Any would-be explorers having a poke around the island risk being seriously injured should the structural integrity of the buildings they're looking at no longer be up to snuff. If something happened to you, they need to send people out by boat or helicopter, and that's assuming you are even in a condition to raise the alarm that something terrible has happened. If you really want to go, then you could ask for special permission, but you might need a good reason. Irish YouTuber and his mate Matt sailed over to Paveglia, and after ducking behind a wall to make sure they weren't spotted by police, they set out to explore the place. The duo were sufficiently creeped out by the abandoned island with crumbling buildings and reclaimed by nature, and some of the only signs of previous life being the graffiti which adorned the walls, some of the ruins as a testament to past visitors. Night soon fell, and they cracked out their ghost detecting tools. Dara admitted that they were skeptical of the idea. Following a thermal gizmo, the duo made their way to the island's bell tower, which is meant to be especially haunted, with Dara saying it was strange that their instruments immediately pointed them in that direction. They struggled to keep their devices working as they got increasingly creeped out, and their flickering lights failed them. Dara decided to commune with the spirits he didn't really believe in. He and Matt got some recordings of the words by tuning a radio and having an Italian friend translating later that the words meant leave, travel, which he thought could be a sign of the island spirits. Should you believe in that sort of thing? Manu, their Italian translator, also heard the word explosives, and shortly afterwards got freaked out because he was searched at an airport for the first time to see if he was carrying any explosives. Wow, what a story. And also what a show. Definitely want to thank Aage Nost for coming on out, trying to raise our frequency and shift consciousness before disclosure. We need it right now. We also want to thank Drew Banky with the After Hours wrap up. We want to thank Steve Stockton Tells Untold Miss Perks Mysteries. We also want to thank the man you hear right there, Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Dog. He's the man that rocks us out of each and every show, teaching us, telling us to never say never again, because yes, the phenomena is real, and because of that, anything and everything beneath that is possible. If you enjoyed the show tonight, make sure you throw some love, put your horns up as well. We appreciate you tuning your frequency to Spaced Out Radio, where we do what we do best. What's that you asked, Drew Banky?
We own the night.
We own the night. The show's been copyright SOR Media Ventures Limited, Spaced Out Radio. It has been a pleasure, guys, serving you as your host. I'm Mr. Rob G. This is Drew Banky. This is the After Hours Radio Show. And to all you space travelers out there, this is not a goodbye nor a farewell. However, you can best believe as we go off the air for the night, we will be back doing this thing next time, same place. Make sure you're here for that. Thanks for coming on in. Have a great rest of your week. Talk to you next time. All right, we are clear. Great show, great stuff. Drew Banky, as always, sir. Appreciate you. Appreciate everybody out there as well that came and checked us out here tonight. Once again, anyone that's new out there, you've come in tonight on the After Hours radio show. We run Saturdays, Sundays, 8 p.m. Pacific till 11 p.m. You also have Dirty Filth with Cryptic Cartoons Saturdays at 2 p.m. This is all Pacific time, Pacific Standard Time, daylight time, whatever you want to call it. We got Lee Strauss and Tim James Fridays, 8 p.m. Pacific. Element 115, we have Grand Tavius Max and Lee with UFO Max, Dave Scott, Monday through Friday, running the Blue Train, 9 p.m. until midnight Pacific. Basically, when I say all that, I just say that to say we have something going on here 7 days a week. So definitely would be glad if you consider hitting that subscribe button, notification bell, so you know next time we go live. Outside of that, Drew Banky, do you want to just leave them with anything here tonight before we're up out of here?
Last time in this office. I won't be here next weekend. I'll be moving. So I'll see you in July.
Good to know. Good to know. All right. Well, we'll see Drew Banky in a couple of weeks, guys. Say so long for now, and you guys have a great rest of your night. We want Retribution. Let's get this thing shut down. Take care. Till next time.
Cause we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience for your love with the